Sidelines Sports on your dial right now. They see stories every play, every time with Rob Browne breaking it all down. Yeah. SEC, Sideline Sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time, highlight shine, executive mind. Brendan Martin keeping Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline Sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune. From the booth to the field, every Saturday field.
My favorite guest in the world's on today, Robert. Robert Browne. I think you're muted, Robert. I think that was a little bit of a delayed reaction. It was exciting for a moment. But I'm muted.
Hey, Roman Harper
Robert
is joining us right here in a moment. The pride of Prattville, Alabama. You know where it is, where the Bass Pro is, right above Montgomery, the Prattville Lions. Won a lot of state championships. Look, do us a favor. Share it, like it, and subscribe. You're watching us on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. Share the show now. Boost it to all your friends. People you know and don't know. Got a new viewer, Josh Akis from Griffin, Georgia. He's up here managing hunting properties. We met with him yesterday. Rode around for about 3 hours. Great guy. Oh, my God. What a hunter. And good morning, Josh. And also want to say, take your time to share us and like and subscribe. 8 channels of Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We're streaming live. So, got Roman Harper, again, batting in the leadoff position today. He'll be our guest. Frank Duffy, Doug Dean, Brad Bellamy to join us in the fourth quarter. Guys, by the way, Doug and Frank, the guy Josh Akis I just talked about moved up here a couple of years ago from Griffin, Georgia. We rode around and looked at some hunting stuff around here, and oh, my gosh. It's not duck season, and the ducks know it, and they're just mallards. It's crazy. And watching – somehow the satellite over here got messed up. I'm getting the stations out of Tupelo and Columbus, Mississippi. Story coming through Mississippi State Legislature. Believe it or not, they want to make NIL earnings tax exempt. That's a state issue. Interesting. We'll see if that catches any momentum. And Doug, I know you've got some great notes, which is what I love about you and Frank and all of us. You got.
Let's just say good morning.
Yeah.
There,
first off,
guy. Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is watching Rob try to do the intro when the band is playing a little too loud. That's my favorite
well,
part.
But the band.
Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Doug. How are you doing?
Good morning, Brendan. Go Gator.
Go Gator.
Go Gator.
Yeah.
It is a great time. And look, by the way, this basketball race is getting to be really exciting.
Race?
Hold on. We've got I've got the green room is lit up here. I think Mr. Roman Harper is going to be joining us here momentarily. So stand by.
And by the way,
Clear the studio.
Roman was working out on something. I saw him on social media a couple of days ago. He was wishing somebody a birthday. I don't think it was his birthday. I don't think Roman Roman's young. He might be 41, 42. So, but we'll wish him happy birthday. If it is.
Is it his birthday today?
No, Roman, it's not your birthday today, is it?
No. Can you guys hear me?
Oh yeah, you're great. Was that a couple of days ago?
Yeah, that was that was my college roommate's birthday.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, his name's Charlie Pepra. Shout out to my boy.
Yeah.
He was my college roommate for 3 years, and it was, I don't know. So I was working out at my friend's house, and I told him about my boy's birthday, and he's like, "Dude, you gotta like slam some beers for him." I'm like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, dude, it's gonna be, it'll be a hit. You got to do it." I'm like, "You know what? You're right. It's all good. I mean, and first and foremost, I want everybody to know, like, before you go watch it or anything, it's all about the performance. All right. Yeah. Don't be worried about how much I'm actually consuming. Okay. Yes. I have to go be a dad like an hour or so later. So just know it was all about that. It was good. He loved it. And yeah, it was fun. It's what I do sometimes. I like to have fun.
Hey, I do too. Trust me. I loved it. And you work out religiously. And I think that's great. And I've been up since 5:30. I love it. Get up every morning, makes the day start right. We got a great panel here today, the Friday Roundtable. And Roman, my wife this morning was watching the NFL Combine, and she didn't know it. And Roman, if you're still there, we lost you there for a second, but I'm going to get his thoughts on this thing. They had the combine is on NFL Network right now, and they're showing all the guys out there running. And she goes, God, the runners are so big. I said, well, these are football players. And she goes, oh, okay. That makes sense. But hopefully Roman will be back here with us momentarily. But I think that the combine, guys, here's some interesting stats, and I'm going to hold these for Roman, but the SEC is going to have a lot of guys at the combine. But 3 years in a row, the Big Ten has won it all. And that's what I want to get into today. We're all going to have a lot of good questions for Roman, is about roster management, building that culture, and getting the right fits. Because if you've got a team full of guys that just got a lot of money that aren't invested in what you're doing, it's going to be tough to win, Frank.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, look, and that's the beauty of what we've been talking about before on our show, the Goal to Go show, is that, you know, when you recruit guys that are in your state and that bleed orange and blue, or crimson and white, or purple and gold, you know, there's a big difference to that than just getting renter players. And it's that culture, it's that that belief in your system, and it's the willingness to go and do, you know, burners and run stadium stairs at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's a big difference.
It is. Roman, Audrey, my wife, was watching this morning NFL Combine. She was like, God, these runners are big. I said, these are football players. And so, oh no, we lost him again. But it's just interesting when you get to the Combine, you've got to learn how to run, Frank, a 40-yard dash. And Doug, it's different than what you're running on the field when someone's trying to tackle you.
And there's no sugarcoating it. They see you in your skivvies, and they see how high you can jump, what your body fat composition is. There's no more, you know, Diego Pavia being, you know, 5'11" in the Vanderbilt brochure. They're going to put a tape measure on him. The NFL doesn't play around, guys. They want to know exactly what they're getting.
Well, I'll just say this, Doug Dean. Unlike in the movie Fletch, you know, Fletch, born and raised on the mean streets of Harlem, 5'11", 6'4" with the afro, it ain't happening in the NFL Combine. I think they go to the base of your skull and to your big toe. Okay, here's the numbers. The SEC has 2 of the top 15, according to a lot of the talking heads for the draft. 2 of the top 15, 10. Let's say I would say this: 2 of the top 15. 10 of the top 32. The Big Ten has 7 of the top 15 in the projected draft and 12 of the top 32. But overall, Big 12 has 17 of the top 100, ACC 12 of the top 100. But overall, the SEC still has the most with 32 of the top 100. What does that mean, Frank, other than frustration for fans going, why didn't we win it all?
Well, it just means that SEC speed is still a premium.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you got players that are bring the lumber on defense. You got skilled athletes on offense, and people want that. And and look, you got to give the Big Ten its props. You know, you have to tip your cap when it's due. In the last 3 years, not only the number of players that they've brought to the NFL, to the draft, but winning 3 national championships. We got to give them a props, but that needs to make fire in us in a conference to make sure that we stop that and we get back to the trend that we've got. So no, you give them their propers, but let me tell you something. You're going to have SEC players on every NFL roster because of the quality and the caliber of that player athletically.
Yeah, and Doug, look at the Combine. You're a very analytical guy. You're an NFL owner, scout, whatever. Top 3 things you're looking for with a kid at the Combine.
Well, the last thing I would put on my bio is NFL draft expert. But, I was going to say the SEC would, little tongue in cheek here, SEC would have several more elite, possibly first round guys. But unfortunately, these guys are pursuing their 7th or 8th year of college eligibility right now. Yeah. Like Chambliss at Ole Miss. It's just a wild world. I think the NFL, man, when you watch that combine and you read the metrics, it feels like going to a wet market overseas in Asia to purchase meat and seafood.
Monkey meat.
Oh my God. And I don't blame them. I guess they have to know, for example, defensive coordinators, there are some who flat out will not sign a player who can't run X 40-yard dash. They just know it's going to, they've proven scientifically that's going to amount, I don't care what a baller he may be, it's going to amount to getting smoked on X number of deep verticals. So I don't blame them for the metrics, but we also get to gloat with the NFL analysts and GMs, whoever makes the draft decisions for in the years following, how they blew it on some late round draft picks because there was something they missed. Maybe they missed attitude. Maybe they missed, I don't know, a hunger, a willingness. I think really a big deal is which of these players really is going to commit to a work ethic that is, as Coach Dye used to say, you got a lot of competition 40 hours a week. But if you're willing to work 80 hours a week, you're going to start winning.
And the flip side of that is also true, Doug. You never know when you're going to find that diamond in the rough, that Tom Brady in round 6, who goes on to win, 2 hands worth of Super Bowl rings. That's what everybody's trying to do. And look, you can, in this world, you can set up your NFL team to take a totally different shift. I mean, look what happened with New England just in the last 2 seasons. I mean, they were horrible under Belichick's last year, but they get, Drake May, build their team around him. That 1 or 2 or that 3, those picks. I mean, look, it was like me and Roman Saints team back, I think it was 2017 or 2018, when we had that incredible class. It propelled us for that next Drew Brees run of 4 years, where we unfortunately missed out on the Minnesota Miracle and the NOLA no call. But you have one good class that comes in that you hit right. I mean, that propels you for at least 5 years of having competitive play, and that's all you're looking for. It's just like college now. All you're looking to do as an NFL team is get into that tournament. You want to get in the playoffs, and you take your chances from there.
The misses on QBs always stand out because it's such a high impact. I mean, the difference between winning it all, making the playoffs for a lot of teams, or in college, having a above average season like we saw Cignetti do, above average, putting it mildly, historic season, is quarterback most of the time. And another one that will live, it's underrated as a huge miss, but our friend who just retired, congrats to Gus Malzahn, we'll be seeing him on Lake Martin a lot. He could have had Lamar Jackson as a recruit. I mean, it was his for the taking. And I don't know, and the book on that is that Gus had gotten his feelings hurt, that some analysts said that Gus's system would never work in the NFL. You got to be pro style. And he goes out and gets pro style quarterback. And that was the beginning of mediocrity thereafter. And it happens in the NFL, to be fair to Malzahn. My goodness. If this were really an exact science, then you could have an AI machine draft for you. And some years, I think they might do better.
Well, I think being an NFL owner, scout, GM is no different than being a money manager. You buy stocks, okay? What do you look for? 3 things you're going to look for in a stock is consistency, never missed a dividend payment. Trust me, you miss a dividend or you cut a dividend, fire in the hole. I did that. I saw that. Oh, we're just cutting it from 15 to 14 cents. It's just temporary. You're kind of pregnant. You're kind of dead. No.
Especially on income stocks. You're right.
Yeah, that's right. So you look at growth. You look at what are they plowing back into the company? Just because you're making a lot of money doesn't mean you have to spend it all. I had a friend of mine that was doing a lot of work with a business that was grossing about family business, about $5 million a year. He said they couldn't get to the bank or the beach fast enough Friday after 12 noon. Because I sat them down and I said, here's the deal. Y'all hogs are all feeding from the same trough. If you don't stop it, you're going to run this thing in the ground. Within a few years, he had them grossing $67 million. You just got to manage it right. And both of y'all, I would trust your judgment on this. It's the same thing in college. You look at Alex Golish at Auburn, performance-based contracts. Holy cow! I've been on a commission since I don't know what a salary is. I mean, I eat what I kill. Now, then you get salary plus bonus. don't y'all both think you incentivize these kids? That's going to make it work. That gets their attention. And then the NFL, what Jim Nagy, that's the guy that I wanted somebody in the SEC to hire, and he's at Oklahoma. Watch how they build that roster out in Sooner country, guys.
Frank was talking about, that's a great take, Rob. Frank was talking about you want to have your share of players, in the case of LSU, in state, and what a state that is with talent. Maybe not in the volume that Florida and the state of Georgia have, but if you can lock it all up and seal the border for the most part, get your hand pick the top 15 kids every year. If they bleed purple and gold, it's worth something, or crimson and white, or orange and blue. And Brendan, that can be Florida orange and blue if you want it to. I had a different shade in mind. But what players are, you know what color players are bleeding right now, Duff?
Green.
And I'm not talking about Tulane green. So I don't know. I'm going to be watching, not with resentment. I'll be cheering him on. Cam Coleman, who is bleeding green, and Texas is happy to accommodate if that's what motivates a player. And to be fair to Cam, after last season, and even though I think this Byron Brown who's coming in, there's more reason to think he will return actual offense to the Plains than there is to doubt it. Although we got to see what the offensive line can do. But I'm going to watch Cam Coleman to see. We know he's going to have a quarterback that can deliver the ball. I don't know about Texas O-line. I'd have to study that leading into the summer. But does it matter to have, even if you're making big NIL, does the motivation from a coach like Sarkisian make a difference? And do we see Cam Coleman pushing himself into the late first round, for example, draft status at Texas? Or does the money change how a player really puts the effort and work into, or do you still deal with drops? Is there something missing because of the influence of money? NFL players make plenty of money, but they all do. And it's based on production. Some of it's probably based on hype, if you're talking about the overall number one draft pick. But they pretty quickly, if they're going to have any kind of duration in the NFL, they pretty quickly care more about competition and performing than they do whatever their contract is.
Well, I sure do think Cam Coleman is a top 15 or top 20 draft pick in that first round. The kid's got incredible talent. Watching him, at Auburn these last 2 years. I mean, that's why I told you guys before last season. I think y'all got the best wide receiver room in the country. I mean, and it's mainly
a lot of good it did us.
Mainly because of that kid, right? What he does with Sarkisian, as a different motivator or a different program, I don't know. I do know one thing though, from Auburn's standpoint. Just like when any program loses a player, you got to have a short memory. I mean, once they're gone, they're gone. You got to go on to whatever was next. It's like a golfer. When you have a bad shot, you got to put that out of your mind, or a bad hole. You got to go on to the next hole.
Yeah,
and y'all have to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Roman, you're back with us. We were talking about the draft and all the things that they look for, at the combine, and I think Roman, when you went to the combine coming out of Alabama, was it an intimidating deal, or had you already been pushed and seen pretty much everything you could playing at Alabama in the SEC?
Sorry, I'm in my car, guys. I'm trying to go catch this little golf round in, so I appreciate the motivation about moving on to the next hole after a bad hole. That's what I'm trying to lock in at. Honestly, it was a completely different thing. There's nothing that can really prepare you for it, because, you sit there, you work out, you train, you do all these other things. But honestly, the training part, the field part that we all see and appreciate as fans, that's like all that does for all the GMs and scouts out there. All that does is confirm or make you have to go back and rewatch film. Because if they think you're athletic, they think you have these skill sets, they just want to be able to see it on live tape and grass, maybe be able to compare you to somebody else. So then they're like, okay, yes, it's just a check the box thing, right? So that's what that part of the deal is. But
one of the most important parts of this whole deal that nobody talks about as a job interview is like your schedule. Like, you got to be on time. You can't be late. Do not be late at these things. This is a job interview, and they are character matters. Who you are as a person off the field matters. And those are the things that we talk about that not enough people talk about, that you really don't work on enough in the off season. That we're going out there, we're lifting weights. We're running and training. We're trying to be better at positions. But, man, you got to be a better person as well. Because ultimately, that's a lot of times the difference between a fifth-round picking somebody that's undrafted or a late first-rounder and a third-rounder, right? Because once you slip by once, now everybody's like, oh, everybody knows. And so I got guys that are there right now that are telling me, like, hey, like, Roman, man, these guys have no idea. They all come in. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. They're just getting their physicals done. They got $15,000 worth of gold chains and diamonds on their neck. They're like, dude, when I see you, like, how hungry do you look to be here? You know what I'm saying? Like, These are the things that have completely changed. And in today's combine, that is so different than when I was going through it. My guys, I remember my mom didn't even want me to get my ears before I got drafted because she was like, Roman, I just don't want anybody to judge anything. And so just wait on it. And like, you never know. First impression matters. So when you're late, that first time you're supposed to be there, that matters. All right. When the first time I see you and you got $25,000 worth of jewelry, which, dude, it's fine. Have your jewelry. But do you really need it for 8 a.m. physical? Like, dude, it's like, is that really the time where I want to shine on them? Seriously.
Yeah.
Because that may be that doctor's for that team's first impression. Like, I mean, really? This is what he's got sleeping pants on or whatever the uniform is and $25,000 worth of jewelry. Like, maybe that's not the time. And like, so these are the things that's happening. And naturally your thought process goes to how hungry is that person? They kind of already got it. And so and you hear it all the time. The announcers yesterday were talking about players that literally said, Ruben Bay, they said, Coach, what are your other hobbies? I don't have any other hobbies. I just love football. They love that. Love that answer. Even though it's kind of boring to me, they love that answer. Like, these are the things that I want people to pay more attention to. Young players, young men. Dude, it ain't that hard. Just do the little things right. Be on time. Seem or appear hungry. This is a job interview, and all they want is for you to have. That all they want you to want is for this to be the only thing that you ever want. Like, that's what it has to be. Sorry, I've talked too long.
No, that was great stuff, Roman.
That's great. Roman, this is Doug Dean in Birmingham. It's good to see. And all three of us are Roman Harper fans. Duffy especially, because a little Super Bowl that New Orleans won. But
my headphones aren't working. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
So
what I wanted you to comment on, Roman, I know that your mom that you just talked about, I can tell she was an influence. Others in when you're really early in your life, but then, and of course, coaches at Alabama that pushed you to the greatness to get the most out of your ability possible. Obviously in the NFL, but I want to take you back to Prattville High and Coach Bill Clark. I have enormous respect for Bill Clark. And I think Auburn could have done a lot worse than hiring Bill Clark when we tragically hired a guy, the potato head from Idaho. But talk about Coach Clark and how even at that young age in high school, what he instilled in you in terms of work ethic and other factors.
Yeah, I mean, bro, I would love to hear that answer.
We lose him.
Yeah, Roman. Yeah, Roman, if you can answer the question about Bill Clark. Well, he's okay, but Doug, I agree with you. The guy wins everywhere he's coached. He has won. Bill Clark, and what he just said about showing up late. I mean, I tell you what, if you're supposed to be somewhere at 6 a.m, you should be there at 5:30. I think you should always be early. And the first thing out of your mouth is, what can I do to help? And if you show up like you've spent $25,000 on a bunch of jewelry, I mean, I can't even imagine that. think about the stock portfolio you could have built.
You should also, I'm in a snarky mood, guys. You should also show up with a good internet connection when practices come.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing when you're able to come on, think about this. You're doing a Zoom interview or something like that with these NFL teams. You want to get that right. And that's tough. I know Roman's driving this morning and he'll get it worked out eventually. But Frank, as a business owner, and Doug, my God, all that you dealt with and will continue to, and I do, and Brendan, being on time matters. Details matter.
Yes.
And not sitting on your ass waiting to be told what to do. But the NFL team's like, hey man, what do you do when things fall apart? How do you treat your teammates? How do you treat people that can't do a damn thing for you? People cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the cafeteria. How do you act around them? They look at that more than you. Think about the character of a guy like Takeo Spikes. I mean, Doug, Spikes was raised in a small town, Sandersville, Georgia. Big thing there is the kaolin plant. That's what they use for makeup for women's faces. That stuff matters, Frank. And by the way, talk about the high school football in Louisiana. It's the 7th best in America, one spot behind Alabama, and Georgia is number 4. Powerful.
Well, per capita, yeah. We obviously, I love the state that I grew up in, and I'm LSU fan, and yeah, we've got an incredible pool of talent. Going back to your point about character is what you do when other people are not watching.
Yep.
And I'll guarantee you, when they're interviewing people at the combine, they're looking for that. And whether the answer, like Roman said, whether the answer is boring or not, I think they like to see that you know how to play the game correctly. That, I think, is important. I don't think it's what you say. It's the fact that you know that you have to do something correctly and not wear the bling and answer things in the right way. I think that's the most critical thing. It's not what you're saying. It's the fact that you have the knowledge and the fortitude and the insight to know what you should be doing at that time. That's why I think they have a value with the combine.
Yeah, and Doug, I get to go to a lot of media functions and stuff, and y'all, I'm sure anytime you want to go, you'll see it. Brendan knows this. You look at Roman Harper when he's out there on the floor at anything. I mean, he's a magnet. People want to be around him. Guy takes care of himself, works out all the time. Great husband, got 4 kids. I mean, the kids are the center of his universe. That stuff matters. Doug, you talked about that, roster management. I want to ask you something. We look at what Auburn and Florida are doing, what Kirby's doing at Georgia. By the way, we need more of those roasts like we had Monday night with Spurrier and Kirby and Dan Mullen. That was funny. Doug, we're all old enough to remember Foster Brooks roasting Don Rickles. That's as good as it gets. But
it wasn't an intentional roast. That wasn't the whole thing. It wasn't meant for television.
Oh, really?
No.
That's
ESPN didn't cover it, dude. It wasn't a covered event. It was leaked.
Better.
Yeah, it was leaked out.
Holy
That's
cow.
great.
Yeah, that was not a covered event at all. That was a leaked out footage. There's a lot of, the coaches weren't super psyched about it. Buddy Martin talked about it last night.
It's fun. And Doug, looking around at these rosters in the SEC, and I mentioned those stats, only 2 of the top 15, Keldrick Falk is one of them, and Mansour at LSU, who's a Virginia Tech transfer, is another one of the top 15 projected guys in the draft. But Doug, let's talk your thoughts on roster management and how if you don't have a GM who's really good, that's worse than a bad recruiting class.
And we're talking a football discussion in this case, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, basketball is quite a bit different, but I think what Bruce, quickly on that, Stephen Pearl's experiencing, besides possibly not being elite simply because he grew up with the great Bruce Pearl, but he'll get a couple more years to reverse that opinion, and I have no prediction on it. But when you pull kids out of the portal in basketball, I think it applies to a lesser extent in football because it's just a larger roster. That kids that have not competed at a high level or in the SEC, your margin for your variability of how much you can rely on that goes up. and it's you can have real, unreliable results. In the case of SEC roster management, I think that Signetti's influence on coaches and GMs will be noticed, but not wildly so. I think to compete in the SEC, you've still got to have a foundation of the very best high school players year in, year out, and do your best. I used to say stack 3 or 4 classes. That's out the window. You're not going to keep them 3 years if they're not playing. Why is that? Because if you're not starting or in the rotation on a team, you're barely getting a couple $100,000 NIL. Duff, couple $100,000 ain't what it used to be in college football, right?
No, it's
I
not.
mean, that used to be bag man.
No, it is not.
That was bag man glory. If you could dole out 10 or 15 of those couple of $100,000 in a McDonald's bag, shout out to the Tennessee coach who was made famous for that. So I think you'll see, however, SEC coaches complementing their roster. They've already done it, going out to lesser known, certainly not blue blood programs, and looking for that kid that you can bring in for $300,000 to $500,000, and he'll be a difference maker and give you some of that depth. But I also think what we're going to experience, we did last year, really, in the SEC. I would not put a gun at my head. I am not going to pick a single SEC team. Duff's going to get mad at me here because they think they reinvented football in Baton Rouge with one hire. But I don't think there will be a single program that wins 10 games. I think every single you'll be picking. There might be one. I can see Texas, Georgia. I struggle after that to pick one. You almost obligatory add Alabama if they get hot at quarterback, but that they're playing an unknown, untested QB in Tuscaloosa this year. So I think there may be 1 or 2 teams capable of 10 wins, but I just think that the margin of error, because so many kids leave and enter the portal, you can only rely on 1.5 deep, maybe 2 deep if you get lucky with kids sticking around.
I agree with that. And I got to ask you, you had some great research. Number one, you want to rank quarterbacks. Let's talk about that. Number 2, top 5 or 6 projected SEC ranked teams for next year. We'll start with those 2.
Yeah, and I'll warm things up. We'll get Duff back, I hope, in a second. So I sent fact check me on this. Is Chambliss for sure going to be allowed to play this coming season at Ole Miss?
From everyone I talked to in Oxford, Yancey Porter and some smart people, yes.
Okay, so we'll that's bad news for Deuce Knight. I don't know if Deuce was going to be ready to just start right out of the gate, because Ole Miss, to their credit, they're trying to compete to make the playoff again, and they have a chance to do that with Trinidad Chambliss. I've got to put Chambliss first, and Texas fans will get mad at me, but the reason I say that, if you look at how he just took over the game against Georgia, goodness. And he comes back now. There is disruption because there won't be a Lane Kiffin with the headsets on, as puppet master for play calling, but they should still be competitive. And then after that, I think I can't defend not putting Arch Manning second ranked. Some will say Marcel Reed, and he's an elite, talented player, but he also didn't show up in a couple of big games late season. Then I'll let Georgia and other fans argue over Gunnar Stockton. And he did have 70% completion last year, 24 TDs. But I don't know. I'm not sure I'm ready to coronate Stockton as the guy that when a game is really, you're down 10 points mid fourth quarter, do you have somebody that can go to the air reliably and win a game against very elite competition? Georgia should have 9 wins in them just showing up practically. They're that loaded. After that, I think that the league's a little top heavy with quarterbacks. And how unusual is it that Alabama is going to be starting a very untested quarterback? May prove to be an unbelievable. We had never heard of Trinidad Chambliss a year ago either, right? So correct. I think that's the top 3 or 4 I'd put. And there's some I've left out that might blow up that we've seen before, but those are the standouts to me. And I'm going to be partisan here, but they don't have the supporting cast at O-line and possibly wide receiver. But if you just look at numbers of Byron Browne, it will be interesting to watch how much an impact he can. There's not many quarterbacks anywhere that put up 3,000 through the air and 1,000 rushing. So it's hard to imagine him not being noticed as improving. But I still don't think this Auburn team has more than 7 or 8 wins ceiling in it at this point.
Yeah, and well, I mean, after 5 straight losing seasons, that'll be an improvement. It's just a different. It's if you're an Auburn fan, it's been brutal lately. Byron Browne, I think I'd put him in there. I've seen him ranked as high as 4 on some of these quarterback projected lists. The thing, Alabama, Austin Mack, he's the guy that everybody says, oh, that's the kind of quarterback that
good looking kid.
Kalen DeBoer wants to have. That's the guy, and then well, he's been there. This is like his 3rd year there. So he was 17. I think when he signed, so was Ben Troop when he signed with Florida. Ben told me the other night he's only 17. If you don't have a good quarterback who's ready to go, pull out of the driveway doing 100, you're going to struggle. You might break 500. Let me ask you about Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby, 1 SEC win in 2 years, and they've got the quarterback situation should be an upgrade, but they lose all these games close. The Florida game, the Texas game. That was one of my big picks that weekend. I said Mississippi State's going to beat Texas. Man, I was at a wedding watching the game. I couldn't help it. I was in a wedding, but the game was on. Had my phone sitting there. They're up 31-14 or 31-17, and they lose in overtime. Who is your sleeper team in the SEC this year? John Mateer and his hand are back at Oklahoma. They're not a sleeper.
Is it strange to call? It's probably silly to call Texas A&M a sleeper, right? Because they were high, top 5 ranked most of the year last year.
Yeah.
But right now, if you ask most casual fans or serious analysts, I think that you'd get the argument's going to be between Texas, Georgia, maybe Alabama. You almost always have to consider Alabama throughout the way they stockpile elite talent.
Yeah.
But it's a really important year for Kalen DeBoer. He has got to make the playoff, and he's probably got to make a deeper run to get to lower the heat level on his seat. After that, LSU is one that's going to be very interesting, and the media will obsess on it. Lane Kiffin brought a phenomenal talent injection in there and through the portal. But I think for me, I think it's too big an ask at LSU that they make a deep playoff run after they were that mediocre in 2025. I know it was Brian Kelly, but most of the year it was. But I think Kiffin's going to need a couple of years to really get it rolling and contend for a title.
Well, I won't be surprised if they don't have success right off the bat. But I know that he brought in a portal class they put a ton of money into, and they're going to expect immediate return on that. That'll be fun to watch. All right, I'm going to go back to Texas now. Sark, Dave Bartu talks about this ad nauseum every time.
He's got to prove it.
He underperforms the talent everywhere he coaches. Arch Manning. It may be true. The first generation employees, Archie, the granddad, he was it. Second enjoys Peyton and Eli Cooper. No telling what he could have been if he hadn't been hurt. But Peyton and Eli, incredible careers. Is Arch that hungry? You're paying a kid $6 million. Peyton and Eli, I don't know their finances, but I don't think they've spoiled those kids rotten. From people I know that know, they didn't. They made them work. And then you look at Arch, he's already getting the money while he was a backup quarterback making more NIL money than the starter. I question him. Bartu said it last year before the season. He goes, Arch is going to fail a lot. Speaking of Bartu, get your selection of these gummies, man. I'm telling you, energy, chill, and lights out. If you want a good night's sleep and you got pain, try these pain roll-ons. They work. They're 100% natural with the NFL Alumni Association with the players. Mike Singletary, by the way, Doug, was his first guy to try these. Don't argue with Mike Singletary. It's not a good idea, but they helped him sleep better at night. Doug, you got another great list, which I love lists. I love the structure that you bring. And Doug and I are going to start our Auburn podcast. We're looking to do it this Wednesday. We'll tell you about that. We're looking at lining up. Doug's looking at a great guest to bring on. But let me say this. One of your questions is it too big an ask for Kiffin to make the playoff? We covered that. Can Arch and Sark make the big step? Your thoughts? We just touched on Texas.
I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
Man, it's all set up beautifully for Texas, but I don't think.
I think yeah. I think Doug, and I think Texas has all the talent in the world. We lost you there for a second, but
there, Doug.
You there?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I got to replace this mic. So I don't think it's fair to call Sark choking. And every coach, you coach enough games, it's going to look like all you had to do was make this play and you would have won the game. And as if coaches can have perfect foresight in the heat of the moment in games. Even the GOAT, Saban, there you can identify 2 or 3 games that Saban himself would say, yeah, if I got a do-over, I'd probably call it a little differently on that. That happens. None of us, wouldn't you be thrilled, Rob, to get about 55% winning at blackjack if you were in Vegas? Just 55%. you'd
probably go for it.
Be all right.
Yeah. Well, a 55% chance.
So I just think it's all set up for Arch and so if Ken were on here, he would wince. But I'm asking Arch and Sarkisian and that team to show me that you can win. It's 10 games regular season. That's the only ask. You're probably get a first round bye and win the SEC if you get to 10 games.
Well, look, Texas went on the road. Florida just pummeled them down in the swamp. They go on the road, the first game, 14-7 lose at Ohio State, the reigning national champion. But the thing about Arch is, what are we waiting on? 23, 24, 25. If a dog will bite, he'll do it as a pup. That is so true. I don't see it. I don't see this guy winning the Heisman. I don't, nothing against him. You got to be able to criticize people without people taking it personally. I get criticized by people all the time.
With his last name, and I love the Manning. I really love the Manning family.
I do too.
They're a credit to the sport and completely classy, every one of them.
Yes.
But if Arch is just a little above average, and they have a couple of big game wins, and he looks good, puts up the numbers. It will be hard to surpass him if Texas gets to 10 wins, and maybe 9 if it's the right 9 wins and he's got big numbers. But what you're betting is that he has a really disappointing year for him not to win the Heisman.
No, what I was saying was Dave Bartu talked about this past season coming into the 25 season, and Dave was right. Dave talks about the NFL number is 24 to 30 starts they want you to have in college. And you look at these guys that have 13, 14, 15. Anthony Richardson's one of them, the number 4 pick of the Colts. The measurables, the height, the weight, the speed, it's all there, but it's recognition. I mean, let's say you're human resources director of a major hospital in the South. You don't get to that position without working your way up and seeing everything. It's like a weatherman that's 50 years old versus one that just got out of meteorology school. It's a big difference in experience.
I don't know if this is always true of head football coaches. It seems as if it is. I like to say about HR and they come out of crock pots, not microwaves. You've got to be in the trenches, and you can read a book, you can get a degree in it, and it's just you've got to see when things don't work, when they do, and then refine your own craft accordingly. And then you wake up one day, you're at least 45, 50 years old, and then maybe you're ready to make some noise as a leader. In this case, we're talking about football coaches.
Well, and I think too, I listen, like I said, my kids all the time, they're giving me advice. Social media is one of them. And what my son Wilson, who's 27, says is make your text short. And be careful of Siri audio text. They make you look like an idiot, and they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent something yesterday, and I read it. I was like, wow, that was terrible. But all right, Doug, you talk about Gunnar Stockton. I think he is a clutch performer when games are on the line.
Back-to-back SEC titles. I mean, give them that.
But I think I see an opening for what you said is, you think about Stetson Bennett IV. He made a lot of clutch plays, won back-to-back national titles. Gunner, we remember that touchdown pass late against Tennessee in Knoxville. Big game. Gunner is the all-time leading touchdown passer in Georgia high school history. That's don't let that be lost on people. But tell me why, you think he's not the best quarterback or one. You've got him in your 3 or 4.
To me, it's more like, man, I would sign that kid 10 times out of 10. But I think as a head coach, with Stockton, I wouldn't design my offense to ask him to throw it 30 plus times a game. And you mentioned Mississippi State. I'm not a Lebby hater at all. He's done some phenomenal things. But at Mississippi State's, and Auburn went through this, Mississippi State's another example of departing from their program DNA. By that, I mean, I always think of State as they get these huge physical O-linemen in a running back room. All of them average at least 220 pounds, and they just grind it right at you and grind you into dust and keep the game close. And I think Mississippi State felt a lot of pressure to put an entertaining product up because Kiffin was at Ole Miss and the style he plays. So I think, and you look at what happened to Carson Beck. He had his team in position to win, but when it really mattered and they had to throw the ball, he threw an errant pass that was intercepted to ice the game for Indiana. And, I just think, and you watch the NFL, you've got to run the damn football a lot and be committed to it, and be committed to it with the style of O-line play, and then set your quarterback up so that the throws are more of them are wide open throws than not.
Yeah. Well, you look at teams that run those hurry up, no huddle offenses. Their offensive linemen don't translate well into the NFL. Greg Robinson out of Thibodaux, Louisiana, number 2 pick in the draft, April of 2014, was a bust. It was an absolute bust. You look at a lot of linemen that come. What would you rather have? A physical team, offense, defensive line, button heads with each other every day in practice, or a finesse team? You got to have a physical team, but you got to know how to pass block. That's got to happen. All right, let's move over here in the SEC to Tennessee. Everybody's asking, why didn't Tennessee use Thomas Mars, the attorney out of Little Rock, who never loses to the NCAA? Why did they go with, I don't know, some guy off the billboard? Hell, I don't know where they got him, but it didn't work. And now you know where Aguilar is? He's at the combine. He's done. He's not going to appeal it.
Yeah, you just really, I've got a lot of love for the Vols over the years. I probably wouldn't feel that way if Auburn and Tennessee played year in, year out, because they can be rowdy. So can most SEC fan bases on a given day. But I want Heupel to have a monster year. I think it'd be good for the SEC brand, because you bring, that's a permanent rival for Alabama. Am I right? I believe it is.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And for that to be, if it's third Saturday in October, whenever it is, for that to be a really nail biter game to the end would be fun. And the same with Tennessee and Georgia. Tennessee had that one won. My kingdom, Heupel might say, my kingdom for a field goal kicker late game in that one. So, but he's got the same unpredictability of the QB position because of how it went down with Aguilar.
Yeah, you look when, remember when Alex Golesh was there in 21 and 22, Tennessee had the number 1 offense in the country. Golesh is a quarterback savant. The guy's driven. He is the American dream. I mean, broke out of the Iron Curtain in Moscow. Dad was a truck driver for Little Caesars Pizza up in New York. He's a tough kid. I mean, tough guy. I say kid. But it's going to be fun to watch. We're trying to get Brad Bellamy in here from Landers Ford. And hey, the Gremlins are out today, man. It was foggy this morning, but we're doing everything we can. But golly, man, you think about what Alex Golesh, he's got his quarterback Byron Brown. That's a big deal to have somebody that you're familiar with that knows how to run your system. And if you look at what Curt Cignetti did at Indiana, Curt Cignetti brought in a bunch of players that knew his system, the culture, the process. Watch something significant. This cannot be lost on our viewers. The day after the national championship win over Miami, Indiana lost their strength and conditioning coach. You know who hired him? The Tennessee Volunteers. Clad in checkerboard orange and white. And it's like a $1.6 million salary to be the strength coach.
And things I didn't think I would be saying in February 26th, but Cignetti, I don't know if it was number one, but Indiana's believed to have signed the number 1 or 2 portal class in all of college football. Helps when you run the table like they did, but none of this would have been possible at Indiana even 5 years ago. But the changing landscape of NIL, a guy named Mark Cuban that has a decent bank account and a brilliant head coach who understood how to go about shifting the paradigm, and here we are.
Yeah, well, Brad Bellamy will be here with us momentarily, but let me say, when you think about it, it used to be you win the national championship in January. You had another month until the first Wednesday in February. You may sign a few players. Typically, you get them the next couple of years after that. That's how it works. Most kids, in spring of their junior year, they already know where they're going. I knew where I was going when I was born. But I'll say this, it's very, very hard to do it but now with December signing period, forget about it. You've already signed them, and there's a few players out there for February, but you can go into the portal. This is the difference, and you can get immediate help. And the average age of Indiana's team this year, 22.5. Older, like Jason Caldwell says, look, you got to admit, older is better. In college football, college basketball, you look at experience. Give me a team full of Walter Clayton Jr.'s or Dylan Cardwell's. I would say Charles Bediako, but he left and came back. But experience matters. We just got a few minutes here, and I want to say something about our sponsors. And Doug, great. I love the itinerary, and we'll get into this when we get into this Auburn podcast this week. But strength, familiarity with running a system is huge, but you cannot put a price tag on age and wisdom and experience.
And the ability to overcome adversity, like Brendan Martin has had to do in this show, overcoming adversity of Wi-Fi connections.
I will say this. I promise you guys, I swear he got behind an 18-wheeler one time during a hurricane, lost his power, a tree fell through his roof into his bedroom, and rode for an hour getting us internet. There ain't anybody better in the world. You know what, Doug?
I'm just sad we didn't get our guys on.
I know. Well,
it happens.
Yeah. And I know Roman and Marty Smith wants to come on hopefully next Friday. I was texting him last night.
Nice.
And
maybe we need to record them sometimes on the side if they can't come on in the morning, then we can play them back later.
Yeah, I'd love to get them on because they're so good. And thanks everybody for watching too. Watch, share, like, and subscribe. As soon as the show starts, try to get on there and hit your Facebook and boost it out there. It goes everywhere. But great stuff today. And Doug, your list of those top quarterbacks, I love that. And I want to we'll get Bartu to come on some Fridays too, as we get into numbers, because the projections, spring practice is about to kick off. So is March Madness, and SEC baseball will be upon us here very soon.
March Madness any day now.
Yeah,
I think Auburn's going to be sitting at home, and man, I would love to be a fly on the wall at the Bruce Pearl residence for Sunday dinner with he and Steven trying to figure out where are we missing it. And players win games, but you know what we're seeing, and it's no surprise, Bruce Pearl was in a elite group of coaches who know when to push players, when to love on them, when to change strategy. And that you don't just, like I was saying, that comes out of a crock pot, not a microwave.
Doug, that might be one of your top 5 all-time quotes. You give me a lot of great ones, but no, it is so true. And I always tell people, you can't microwave your way to the top. You got to go low and slow. You got to grind. If you're doing something, you want the money now, probably never coming. Do the process, grind it out, but have structure and listen to people. You work with people, you yell at each other, cuss, you get mad at. That's part of it. That means you're trying to get better. you got people. That's what happens with these coaches that stay too long at a school. All the young assistants come in there. They go, all right, I want anybody in this room to stand up and tell us what we're not doing right to help us win more games. I know this from a guy told me about at Alabama when Kiffin was there. The young coaches wouldn't stand. The only one that would was Kiffin. And Kiffin, he's going to tell you what he thinks. But combine's going on. We got a weekend of SEC basketball. God, Doug, this is a great discussion today. Like I said, we've been all over the place.
Is it going to be fun? Whoever you pull for, it's going to be fun watching Lane Kiffin that season progress at LSU. I don't have any prediction. You're crazy to predict a bad season for them, because of who the head coach is and the talent. That's going to be just so many storylines. And props to Alabama. Florida Gators look like. And by the way, how wild is it, guys, that Bruce Pearl, which is uncomfortable, but he had on staff Todd Golden, who very well may be about to repeat as a national champion at Florida. I know Brendan's cheering for that. And I'd be careful betting against Florida right now.
I ain't betting against them.
And so I don't know how Bruce Pearl could say 3 years ago, Todd, how would you like to be head coach at Auburn? And because Stephen is his son. And there wasn't enough data at that point 3 or 4 years ago to be sure what Todd Golden would become. And it's too early to say what Stephen Pearl will become.
Yeah.
It's just it's a little ominous the way this season looks at this point. But Todd Golden's first year was far from sensational too. It takes a minute.
Yeah, I talked to Franz Beard about that. Stephen, Todd Golden's first year at Florida, 16-17. And that, Franz and Kevin Skarbinski, when it comes to basketball writers, that's that's like Matt Dillon and John Wayne. They're that good. You listen to those guys. They understand it. Doug, great stuff. Looking forward to the Auburn podcast Wednesday. Going to have a lot of information. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us, Doug. It means more than being a part of our team. I am fired up about it. Kelly Leak, we're going to be talking a lot. Might have a special guest Wednesday if we can get him on, but we'll have a great guest either way. They're all special, man. But let me say that LandersFordMemphis.com, folks, Poplar and Houston Levy in East Memphis, where Germantown and Collierville come together, and also Mount Moriah and 240, an iconic location. They bought that. They're open there, 240 in Mount Moriah. Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Sorry we couldn't get him on today, but that's who you ask for. Cars, trucks, SUVs, Landers Ford. If you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers, you probably paid too much. And they're right down the street from Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Hewlett and Dunn has got everything. Barber, Filson. They'll start their spring sales, 50% off on a lot of the winter stuff. Duck heads, Devil Dog jeans, STS, Filson luggage. So many good-looking pairs of boots, like 7,000 of them for men, women, and children. And Charles Hall, his wife, Laura, Raven, JM, Lydia, great people out there. Open every day of the week, Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m., 6 p.m., closed on Sundays except during Christmas. Now, Rumble Boxing Gym.
Hey, we've been sitting over here since 6 a.m.
These guys again.
We got guitars, we got feelings. Last night while y'all were asleep, we wrote y'all a little something. Think of us as your 15-minute radio update guy. Right. Except we're better looking. You want the news? We got the news.
Violent coup in the studio.
He says last night he wanted to be a little bit more involved. And, and I said, Rob, I have time for you at the end of the Friday,
Well,
apparently put the news together for you, especially because he wanted to be your update guy.
Can't hear.
Can't hear it?
Yeah.
All right, now you can go out on this one. That's like Paul Schaefer at the fan.
All right, we got it. But let me say this, guys. Get out there to hempforpros.com, mytownroofing.com. And I will say this. We got to come up with a name for the band. But anyway, thank you for watching. I don't think there's a goal to go show today. We lost Frank, but most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. See you Monday.
See you guys.
See you guys.
Florida's got the crown, but Auburn still ain't free. the circus carries on.